Good evening. Good evening. You're speaking with Lee here. As I said, I start giving you information about the Dutch policies, what is put in place, and what you have to know under certain circumstance. Most of the time, I'm talking with people who is off collecting welfare, and also people who's working, because for certain things it is equal. So it's not about I do not collect social, I do not collect welfare, so that do not apply to me. So you must please listen, and so it might still ending up applying to you without you knowing. So I'm busy giving information every week, and every week I will take a topic. Last week my topic was going about writing, where you come from, the six islands, one of the six islands, the Dutch islands, and the difficulties you could get where you come to Holland, uh, for to writing that you could start your process. But we having also a big amount of people who living in Holland, who have Dutch passport, who have the SOFI of the BSN number. They have all of that, but they're having problem with writing in because they lost their house in one way or the other. And I will explain the reason why they partly lost their house, and now they are without address, because the minute you lose your house, the minute you have no more place to stay, automatically you are no longer registered in administration and the database from in Holland. So you have to have an address to write in that you could remain in the database. You have different ways that you could lose your house. So you're already living in Holland, you have your BSN number, you're known in Holland, and through circumstance, you no longer is registered in Holland. I could give you different reasons why a person lose their house. They could lose their house because of they did not pay their house rent, which the case went in front of court, and they end up losing their house through back payment of house rent. They did not pay their house rent. They could also lose their house by causing a lot of noise, of a lot of problem uh, in their house. There's as you call it, overlast. So the vulnerable will warn the person from listening, you're causing a lot of problem in the house, neighbors is complaining, adjust your lifestyle. And when that do not happen, that is satisfying enough for the vulnerable, they will, for the corporation, then they will tell you have to leave. The other way you could lose your house is through relation problem. You might be living together, and one partner is stepping out of the marriage, of the living together setup, and then the one who stepped out have to write in someplace. The one who stepped out of the relationship have to write out and go write in some places. And most of the time, when they step out, they do not have an address to go and write in. So that time also they are not registered in Holland. You also could get yourself from someone who rented a house of from the vulnerable of particular private, and they take it and they start doing marijuana plants, drugs plants, as I say, marijuana plants. So they will start just having it for a place to do the planting of marijuana, which is illegal. You cannot plant no marijuana in your house. For that, in the context to be able to go and sell, so they will lose their house also in that type of scenario. So then you have also people who have buy houses, and they lost their house through financial issues. Of It could be also that one partner remain with the house and other partner have to leave. So you could say they buy up each other or whatever. So the one who leave also need an address. So we have different scenarios why a person do not have a house and do not have an address, and they have to apply for address. Um, the difficulty with all of this, if you make a summarize, if you have rent back payment, cause a lot of noise and annoyance in the house that they have to leave, relation problem, of problem with drugs. Most of the time with relation with back payment of house rent, of problem with too much noise, of with drugs, those type of those kind of acts, they put a registration behind the person name. They will put a registration behind the person name for why the person had to leave the house. That do not apply if it was a relationship issue of from a buy house, or a relationship issue from a rented house, that through the relationship scatter, that they will get a code behind of them because they did not do nothing wrong. In that case, will not have those kind of things attached to them. But the other three cases, they will have that attached to them, and so they will register them. And a lot of people do not know they are registered, because when they start continuing applying for house, they will see, for this help will see certain things is not going. They're really not going to become number one. So a situation like that, you need really organization to help you. Maybe you go to a maatschappelijk werker, they could help you. You could go by, some of them end up into depression. Some of them, that's very sadly to say, when they end up in all of these kind of things, they end up in a mental institute. And most of the times from there out, we get organization who will help, because if you are not written in Holland, it's like you do not exist. Everything just have a standstill. How some people does, they go look for a house owner, so someone who have a house and they are renting their house. So when they are renting their house, it'll be much easier for a person to go and live there. But even for certain cities now, they are saying for telling even the house boss, you have to keep yourself to certain criterias. And if you do not keep yourself to certain criteria to the people you rent your house to, even that house boss could get himself with fines. So a lot of cities now is saying, okay, you have your house, you want to rent your house, we want to know who you're going to rent your house to. So they will tell you, go online and apply. And then you have to fill a certain form. And then the gemeente will tell you, okay, we agree that you rent the house, or we will not agree. So even that one is proven very difficult now, because it's not only the house corporation who's telling you do not have permits to write in or whatever. Even the gemeente on its own is telling you now also, giving you also certain criteria. Besides house boss, they could look for a house through real estate. But the real estates have a lot of criteria. And most of the time, the houses from the real estates is houses that do not have, is from very high house rent. So they call them free sector. Free sector means to say you have to, the house rent is above the social houses. Because for the social house, they have a limitation, tell this amount you could rent, and everything above that you have to go into the free sector. And the free sector, you come with the real estate, and then they will come with a lot of criteria. They will tell you, you know what happened, we want I want to know where you are working. I want a pay slip for the last 3 months. I want also a note from where you was living last, and that the previous owner could say you was a good attendant. So they also want to know from you have to pay also sometimes 2 to 3 months in advance if you even get a house. But the most time, the house rent is very high for the group of people that was losing their house. So what certain cities did is because they start getting themselves with a lot of people that, and it's not even anymore the low class. Let's put it that way. They even have the middle class now who's having issues. And due to the fact the loss of their job, the loss of the buy house, of the splitting of relationship. So even that one now is an increasing problem from the middle class, and they do not even know where to write in. So certain cities, what are they doing? They are trying to look for some solutions because the group is increasing. And due to the fact the group is increasing, people is getting themselves in all kind of issues, and I pity a lot of them is getting themselves in mental issues. What happens a lot is then certain cities will say, okay, you know what happened, we will put certain things in place that still will give you a form of income till you catch yourself. For example, they have the Salvation Army, Lake themselves. They say, okay, you could go and stay there. They will even help you to see if you could start coming back on track. You could write in there for an address, and then they will try to see if you could start coming to stand back on your feet, that you will get some form of income from the state. And when you get the form from income, then they will say, okay, let's see about work, let's see about this, let's see if we could get you a shelter. Then you have every city have their own thing put in place for their people who get themselves in a very complicated situation. But you have to remember, the city will help you where you was living, where you was previously living. So for example, if you was living let's say in Rotterdam, and they know you in Rotterdam, so Rotterdam will try to put in place what they could help you with, and then they will come with a criteria. They will tell you, okay, you have to be living 7 years in Rotterdam before that happened to you, or you have to be living 5 years. Every city have their own demands. So then they will say, the reason they're doing that, they do not want somebody come from another city to come and make use of those things that they are trying to put in place. So they mean to say, leave every city take care of their own. Leave every city take care of their own. So then maybe you could go to Lake Resell, they will write you in, and like that every city have its own. Certain cities also have a place that you could go and register, just for you to start getting a starting, to come back to a starting point. So you have to see in your city, what do they have? What do they have in place for us who end up in these type of situations? So as I said, every city varies. I'm going to talk about the difference between, as I said, I was going to talk this week about the difference between occupant registration and two things I want to talk about. I said I'm going to talk about the occupant registration and correspondence address. So it's two different things. You have the correspondence address and the occupant registration address. The difference in the two is by the occupant address, you are written in there that you are living there. You are written in that you are living in the occupant address. And by the correspondence address, you are registered that only letters could come to the corresponding address. So letters is coming to the corresponding address, but that do not mean to say you are living there. By the occupant address, you are living there. For the system, you are telling the system you are living there. And both of them have different criteria. And postbus do not apply for that. Please, because a lot of people confuse postbus with correspondent address. They are totally two different things. By by the central point of administration, which part you have to go and write in for the personal records database. They cannot take postbus. Postbus, most of the time, they make use of postbus when they have business and things like that. But I'm not going into that. I'm going into the correspondent address and occupant address, and I will give you the explanation in the in between the two. As I said, the occupant address, the person is written in there as living there. For them, they are living. For the state, they are written in as occupant address, so they are living there. Then you come back with the brief. I will give you different scenarios from that one just now. So, but then you have the one from corresponding address. You cannot just like that use a corresponding address. You need permission from the state you are living in, because they have certain criteria with the corresponding address. That means to say that point one, most of the time people who use that is in one of other institutes. They could be in a mental institute. They will use that. The letters, they are staying in a mental institute, but the letters to be coming to whatever address they gave up. If they give up address for the mother, the father, whatever, everybody above 18 years who have a house, they could give up that address as for the mails to come there, or somebody who's in prison. They also could give up an address from the brother, sister, nephew, whoever, and they will pass it on to the state by the administration office. So, okay, I want this as a brief address, and then they will give the name, who they want it, the letters or whatever to go by. It has people also who's traveling maybe for 9 months of a year, and they do not want to continue paying house rent, so they will tell the state, I am traveling, I want my address to go, I want my mails to go to this and this address, but I'm not going to go in that type of addresses. I'm going to deal with the corresponding address and in the form from you are living in Holland, but you do not have a house. You do not have a house, you lost your house. And then for that correspondent address, every state have their own criteria. Every state have their own criteria. The one state could say, you know what's happened? Okay, you want to write in here because you have no house for now, you have no place for now. So, okay, I will leave you right in, but you need permission from the one who's owning the house. You need permission for the one who's owning the house, and then they have to fill in a form giving you permission to write in as brief address. Brief address. And the state will see if they're going to give you permission, yes or no. So even if the owner of the house give you permission, there's no guarantee that the state will give you permission. And when they give permission, but you have to explain in the form, why do you want this address as a brief address? Not an address you're going to live in, but why you want it as a brief address. And when you go to apply for that, you have to carry your ID, the person you're going to stay by ID. You have to have a letter written why you want them to come, what is the situation, why you want to be written in as brief address. You have to have also a form they will give you, also the owner to be filling and you all sign. That is one process, or this is a process when they give you permission to write in as a brief address. But it have a limitation to it. Some cities have it for 3 months, other cities have it for 6 months, other cities have it for a year. Because in that time, they're giving you time to start to get back to your feet, look for a job, go back into the system, look for welfare if you do not have no income. So they give you time to start coming back into the system. And then you have, as I said, inwoonend address, so the occupant address. So you're telling them, I'm staying by this address, I'm located by this address, I'm living in by this address. And when you say that, they know then you are living there. it have also negativity attached to it. Why did Holland decide to start taking brief address? Is because they come to realize a lot of people start losing their house and they have nowhere to write in, but they want to know where are they. For example, this brief address, if the state want to send any letter, office for belasting or whatever, for boete and all, whatever, they know then where to send it to. But in the past, people used to say, okay, you could come and write, you could come and stay by me. I will feed you. I will make sure you have shelter over your head, but you cannot write in my house. You could come and stay, but you cannot write in my house. And then the state mean to say, okay, you know what happened? Let me see how I could fix it. And why the people they not want them to write in their house. And that is a difference also in between the occupant writing as an occupant of your writing as a correspondent address. It has to do with your debts also. Where you write somebody in as just correspondence, the bill collector, as we call him here, the deurwaarder, cannot really bother you because bother the owner of the house, because the person is only written in as a correspondent address. So only the correspondent, their letters and their mails is coming there, but they self is not living there. Nothing in the house is of their own. So the deurwaarder could come, but he only could come to bring his letters of his exploit. He will come and bring it to make sure that you, because if you give yourself up as brief address, as correspondent address, you have to make sure give the owner of the letters their letters and their mails. So he will come, but he will bring whatever letters he have to bring for you. He will leave it there by the correspondent address. So he cannot take nothing out of the house of the one who's functioning as, okay, you can write your name in, you can write your name in by me in the form of correspondent address. But when you write in as occupant, whatever debts you have, the bill collector, the deurwaarder, could come to that house and take the people them things out of the house. So the difference is with the with in between these two is the corresponding address. The deurwaarder, the bill collector, cannot go by that person's house and take nothing out of their house. And that also is also what is also attached to that. It have nothing negative on the owner of the house income. The owner of the house have no financial damage if they write somebody in as brief address. It have no problem for them. Not they're going to make their money less, or they're going to turn around, put beslag on the money. No, as a corresponding address, it have no impact for the owner of the house financially. It have no impact, no negative impact for them. But with a corresponding address, it have the one of two attached to it, because then you have more income in the house, because there the person income also is going to be considered under certain criteria, under certain rules and laws. You understand? So before you write somebody in, make sure for financial wise, what kind of effect it have on you, because you could write somebody in, and what happened in the long run, the bill collector could come at your door and start want to compound your things, because for the person who's written in by you. So you could say, but I bought my own things in my house. Then the bill collector will say, okay, maybe you have a chair you have for the last 5 years. He said, okay, bring the receipt that you buy that chair. Bring the receipt from this, bring the receipt from that, because once a person is written in your house, the bill collector could take the things out of the house, and that is vice versa. Because yourself, who's written in by somebody house, if you have also your own articles in the house and the owner of the house have bills, they could also take your articles and carry it along. Otherwise, you have to prove black on white that you buy those articles yourself. You buy those articles. Otherwise, they're going to go with that one also. That is the difference when you have a correspondent address and you have occupant address. That is the difference in both of them. Sometime that a person will write in, they are written in as occupants, but they're not staying in that building. They're not staying in that house. That is a problem on its own that I do not want to tackle for now. But it is a problem of their own. And once you write somebody in who's above 21 years, even your own child, if the child is above 21 years, or whoever is staying by you above 21 years, and in this case, if the child is not going to school, it has impact on your income, especially if you're in the setup of the social. You are getting money from the social department, from the welfare department. But that is a topic I will talk to you about next time. I'm not talking about this topic now because it's already, the tape is already becoming longer than I anticipated. I did not want to have it so long, but I find I have to explain that you will have a view what I'm talking about. And please, can you press the subscribe button for me if you enjoy my info? And do not forget, always be very careful how you go about things, how you tackle your things, and how you look for your info. Always look for info. Is because the info is always important for you yourself, for you not to get yourself in damage. You do not hurt yourself and get yourself in financial issue that it maybe could be very, very difficult for you to get yourself out, even though with the process that you want to help someone. But let me remind you, I'm repeating myself, let me remind you, it's not because you're not collecting social. Yeah, I'm working on. What do that have to do with me? I have nothing to do with me. Do not deceive yourself on that, because a lot of these things have also impact on people who is working. The difference is you're not just feeling it now. You do not know what could come in the long run. So please do not have the mindset, I'm not getting money from the state. I have nothing to do with the state. I have my house. I could do what I want, how I see, and if it's convenient to me. Please do not deceive yourself on that. It's not because income is income. Income is income. And most of us know the blasting office does take a while before he start coming knocking on doors. So sometimes people will say, I did not know. And the Dutch law is saying, once you are living in this land, you have to know the law. Because they have different organizations you could go to ask your question. So the mindset on I did not know, nobody told me about it, that one do not fly here in this system we have here, because they have different places you could look for information. So this thing I did not know, nobody told me about it, that do not go. But anyway, I'm going to round up this info now. I hope it was very clear. I hope you understand it, and I hope that I help you in the process with this info. Please press the subscribe button for me, and next week I will be talking about what kind of impact it have on your income when someone is written in by your house, buy house or no buy house, social system. I'm giving you the social system, what kind of impact it will have for you if someone is written in by your house, and what kind of impact it have on your income. Anyway, thanks for listening, and till next week, have a blessed week. Bye-bye.